that can be changed. So frustrating, just make one little change on this thing and then it changes the whole thing for all of
I
my
don't know.
scenes. I don't understand. OBS is kind of being a little bitch. That's why we got to redo this. We're on, by the way.
Oh, are we on the internets
We are
again?
on the internets, all of them.
Welcome to Critters in Taiwan, a D&D podcast about Critical Role, where a bunch of nerdy-ass voice actors sit around and play Dungeons & Dragons. I am Ben in Kaohsiung.
I'm Tim in Taichung.
And we're a couple of critters dealing with technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah. OBS is everyone's favorite program.
Yeah. It's free. What are you going to do?
Yeah, that's true.
So tonight we are talking about, we got four things to talk about.
Yeah.
We got a Mighty Nine Reunited Part 1.
Yep.
We got a Mighty Nine Reunited Part 2. We got a 4SD, a four-sided dive last week. And we got episode number 41 of Campaign 3 called Call of the Wild. Ow!
Call of the Wild, on the nose there.
Yeah.
Pretty easy title to come up with for them, I think. For that
I
one.
liked it.
Call of the Wild. It's basically the whole thing from front to back.
It kind of was. A good John Krakauer reference there.
You sure it's Krakauer? You sure it's not Kerouac?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Hey, look at that. I started rolling.
Nobody's seen our other episode that we had to trash.
Yep.
It's just going to be inside jokes between Ben and I. That's all it's going to be now.
That's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
So, listen, man, let's start off with some Mighty Nine Reunited.
Yeah, I have some notes on those. Nothing big, but
let's have a little chat about it. Yeah. I'm gonna say, if you don't mind, I'll start off with, I loved it. It was amazing. It was wonderful getting back into touch with these characters. I did not care for the first episode, the first part. I found it
the prologue.
The prologue felt overlong, overcomplicated. It felt like it was a little disjointed. It felt like it was awkward. They weren't in a groove. They weren't in a flow. It felt like it was up and down and roller coastering all over the place, and I didn't, not in a good way. But then when the second part came around a week later, I thoroughly enjoyed myself. The combat was excellent. The setup was excellent. The epilogue was excellent. All of it was very, very good.
Ukatoa looked amazing.
Ukatoa. Yeah,
super sick. Yeah,
one of the greatest minis that we've ever seen. One of the greatest.
I'm glad I had that on my TV. Like you said, don't watch that on your phone. I was like, ooh, must be something with minis or Battlefield.
This is the episode that you did not want to watch on the phone. This is well worth watching. Yeah, it's a great episod.
Big ass TV, and I'm pretty sure you and I have the same TV, but I saw it there, and then I finished it in the bed on the iPad. I couldn't go to the phone. I had to see it.
So you had some things to say about this episode.
Yeah, let's get through some of these things.
Let's do it.
My first thing is level 17.
Yeah,
that's
right.
They ended at level 15, right?
They did.
This is just 7 months later.
6 months later or so.
It was like a month in the game, and then like 6 months after that, there's this, right? So not a whole lot has changed, and it hasn't been that long of a time. But now all of a sudden, whoosh, up to 17. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah, I think part of that, my immediate thought to that is, they're still active. They're still active in the world. Ford and Jester clearly, and Kingsley clearly are out on the high seas doing the thing for the new company, A Stone's Throw. They're out there, presumably battling, fighting off pirates and brigands, right? And monsters and things like that, so they can level up that way. Caleb maybe is doing things against the Cerberus Assembly with Beauregard. Yasha is gathering experience points gardening. I don't know.
Yeah, I think she's painting now too, right? Painting and gardening, so she's got a level in home.
Sure. And again, the other response that I have to that is, there's, without looking at every single class, like the monk and the wizard and the multi-classing and all of those things, there's likely a thing that happens at level 17 that they wanted. Some class feature. We know that Ford is Paladin Warlock, the Pallock.
Pallock.
And I
love those jokes.
Kingsley is at least five or six or seven levels in Rogue.
Rogue, right?
And then there are others is Blood Hunter. So adding these numbers up, there's probably milestones and class features they wanted to hit. Yeah. And so they maybe settled on 17. Things get weird in 18, 19, 20. They don't necessarily
overpowered a little.
No, it actually is the other way.
Oh, okay.
Some of them, I think Rogue is he's Arcane Trickster. So I think he gets Veth gets with Arcane Trickster gets Spell Thief at 20 or something. There's a couple of caps. You can steal magic from other people. If they try to cast spells at you, you steal the spell and then you can use it, throw it back at them.
Huh.
It's kind of a neat one. There's a couple of, they call them the capstone class features. There's a couple that really aren't that great. They're just not that exciting at level 20. So there's a couple of them. Druid is a really cool one where they don't age. They become like basically or virtually immortal.
Druid just seems to just get better, period.
The monk I think isn't very good, and the barbarian isn't very good. I forget. It doesn't matter.
At level 20 for monks, right?
Yeah,
like depending on your subclass or something.
They don't eat, they don't breathe, they don't sleep, they basically turn into like living statues. It's kind of weird.
So they can just swim underwater indefinitely.
Just be. Yeah, they just are.
Fuck.
Mm-hmm. So that's sort of my sort of idea of why 17.
I'm wondering if it was governed quite a bit with Kingsley, because they didn't get to see much of Molly, spoiler alert. But like, he wanted to have maybe level 5 or level 6 in Rogue to match whatever he has at level, I guess, 12 or 11.
Yeah, something like
13 in Blood Hunter.
It'd be.
So what if that was? He's like, "Can we do this?" And we're like, "Well, everyone else has to go with you." And be like, "Can we do that?" And you did say last time also, it's a game. Let's enjoy ourselves.
Yep.
Because I'm trying to sit here rationalize, like in 6 months they're going to go up 2 levels with, and if they had some huge battles or had this big old, what do you call it, milestone things, then they would talk about
to level.
It.
If you by that logic, the Mighty Nine were only together for less than a year, and they got to level 15 in less than a year.
Fair enough.
So right, like my adventuring party, they got to level 3 within a couple of hours. It's milestone. Right. This is what happens with milestone when you they went through a dungeon and they started level 1. Halfway through the dungeon, they got to level 2, and then when they exit the dungeon, they got to level 3.
Man, just a year, huh?
By design. Yeah, Mighty Nine the campaign was less than a year, I think.
Like in-game time.
In-game time, yeah. Yep. Real time was
a big
not a long
with
time.
COVID and all that. So it feels like feels like so much longer. I mean,
it does.
Remember this morning when we left Rexentrum,
Like with Vox Machina, they took a couple of they took the 1 year break. They took a couple of breaks of months downtime. They didn't do that in Mighty Nine. Mighty Nine, they took they had like the 1 week break. They're like, hey, we're going to take 2 weeks of downtime now. Yeah. It's like that was the big
Ford
one.
Went to the coast or something.
Yeah, exactly. So they did a couple of things. They did like one like that. Bell's House, they haven't done anything like that at all yet. So in game time, they're at level 7, 6.
They just leveled up at the end of this one.
Hey, yeah. So level 8.
Level 8 now. Yeah.
Right, and it's only been a couple of weeks. They've only been together for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's right.
So D&D logic doesn't stack up.
It's a game.
It's a game, right? So like 6 months is really a long time for only 2 levels. So
yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I'm sure. And I'm sure. Yeah, I'm the one that's probably just in the wrong here. It's just like really 2 levels all the way up to 17. Like, that makes sense.
We didn't get to see it, so that's
doing much. Nothing too crazy like they were before.
We don't know.
Otherwise, they would mention it or something, and they wouldn't do it alone or something. It just seems like they've been taking it easy, kind of. It's like take it easy, and then you go up in level. Sure. Come on, get out.
Sure.
Like Bertrand Bell, he went back down to level 5 when he was up at 18 or something.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
But he was old.
Yeah. Yeah, age does that. Yeah.
What
else you got?
I had this question too. Why were they initially on the ship? Were they just doing normal stuff?
They're just
boat
doing.
stuff?
They were just. I don't even remember.
Watched it
They
twice. And I
were.
don't remember.
They were just on the ship. That's where they started. They were running. Maybe they were running to another one. They were running from one port to another port to pick up stuff, shipping things.
Yeah, it might have been said in like a small sentence, and it just missed me twice. Like,
Yep. I think they were just. It was in between ports. I think that's all.
between port.
Yep.
I don't know why that sounds like Jitterbug. they did it, and they're like before port.
Yeah. Right.
Now every time I hear the word port, I think of Jitterbug for some reason.
Okay.
Jitterbug before port. It makes no sense. Yeah, I don't remember why either, but it's not really important anyway. And then I was thinking, like, yeah, like you said, it felt kind of like disjointed, perhaps, you know. And I'm just wondering if like their flow from campaign 3 just kind of bled into campaign 2, you know,
because like, it felt like it.
Yeah, because the campaign 3 is very not sitcom-y. It's like a show, you know. It's like a series on Netflix, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas Mighty Nine still felt like a game, you know. It was like a weekly episode, and it was still kind of standalone arcs and those things. This one just feels like we're already on the final arc, you know. We started on the final arc, is what it feels like to me.
It felt to me like
into 2 or back into the Mighty Nine.
We talked a bit about this earlier. It felt to me like that Matt was like, okay, for this 2-part one shot, we're gonna here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this.
Right.
And so then they kind of reacted accordingly and set up their role play, their gameplay, their mechanics, everything that it felt like not railroaded, but it felt like there was a game plan already in place, and this is what they were aware of. So it felt a little premeditated. It felt a little bit not forced, but herded in a general direction.
Yeah, kind of like
as opposed to like Matt asking the question, so what do you do now?
Yeah, like a one shot, you know? I mean, that's what it is, you know, or it's a two shot, but it's basically a one shot relative to the rest of the campaign. So, yeah, you're going to have a little bit of like Sam, when he did his one shot, that was a lot of fun. He said, I can't believe it took you so long to get into the building. Yeah. Now we can take a break and start the second half. Yeah. That was a lot of fun, that thing.
It was a weird one.
Nightmare.
So again, usually you're right. Like usually with one shots or these two-parters, you know where they're going to, you already know. You have a goal in mind, you know what's going to happen, and you just go with it, as opposed to like, here's a world, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
This is true.
A normal approach for the team. Yeah, and actually on that note, something I didn't mention in the fucked up take was, and now I think I have my answer, is do you think that handing over the Cloven Crystal was scripted? Because in the four-sided dive, Matthew said, well, there are other ways that we could have done it, and Travis wasn't there. But Travis basically just said, like, okay, stop this. She's my love of my life.
Right.
Stop.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, here it is.
It drove the story
forward. Matt said that if he hadn't have given it up, they would have found another way to get it,
like control person or whatever.
It was. So it was not scripted in the fact that Matt asks and Travis is going to give automatically, but it was sort of the goal why they were there and et cetera, et cetera. Like,
because it seemed like, especially both times I watched it, especially that it seemed like Travis was like, well, here you go. You know?
The big answer is that mini was not cheap in terms of time and monetary value. So the only way that mini ever makes it on the table is for that crystal to be taken or given. So it was going to happen one way or another, I think.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, it seemed a little fishy, you know, but it was you know, it was fine. It's a one shot. They had to drive it, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of that, you got more?
No, that's it for my Mighty Nine.
So just a quick little thing about the four-sided dive then that I've got. I loved it. I thought it was one of the best four-sided dives they've done so far. It felt we've talked about this before also, that the early Talks Machinas weren't good. They were really bad. They were just really not. They weren't good. The early ones, and
That's
I think
subjective.
they weren't good. Go back and watch them. You'd be like, oh god,
I've
this
seen
is
them a couple
terrible.
of times, and it's,
They're
it
terrible.
takes them a little while to get their swing.
Yeah.
You know,
So I
and
think
the
this is
questions
what's
were
happening.
shitty, you know,
They're terrible. Yeah, they eventually got on a good format and it worked. And I think we're witnessing that with Four-Sided Dive. I think we're seeing that it's actually beginning to flow properly.
Yeah.
I also thoroughly enjoyed the Bad Santa gift exchange. That was so much fun.
That was a great game. That was a great game.
Yep.
Laura started annoying me a little bit because she could see her greedy little child poking
Oh,
out
yeah.
so much.
Oh,
She
yeah.
was like, "Oh, my Vex is showing."
I
It's like,
want
no,
everything. I
your
want everything.
Laura is showing.
Yeah. I want it all.
Yeah, she was like rolled the dice and grabbed the present and started opening it immediately. It's like,
Yep.
Laura, calm down, put
Yeah,
that
I
fire
know.
out. She's like,
I know.
I want to open it all. She's so greedy.
All right. So yeah, I think that was fun. It was a good. I learned some things too. I wrote some notes down, but they're not really that important to talk about. But it was the Four-Sided Dive. The actual questions that they were asking were really. They were good. They answered some things.
Yeah.
So
except for there were a few questions that were like, if you would be a cocktail, what would be in your? It's like, come on, man. I mean, they're fine. They're fun, you know. But
Yep.
I'm like, I want more.
The critters like that stuff. There's critters out there that love that stuff, right? And I kind of do too. I'm like, oh, that's an interesting, because there is something you can read between the lines about what kind of a cocktail Orin would actually be, and you're like, okay, well that may be able to tell you. You can infer a little bit about what Orem is, a little bit more about Orem's personality or whatnot.
Just bitters and maraschino cherry juice. Non-alcoholic vodka. Like, oh God. Does that exist?
Before we get into episode 41, we did have a question from Mr. Ben Hamilton.
Oh, right.
He was asking us about what we know that Chetney is a werewolf. He was asking us which animals or hybrid forms the other members of Bell's Hells would take, we would think. And I mean, sure enough, within 20 minutes into this episode, the cast started asking that question.
I was wondering why that sounded so familiar.
They were sitting around in there. I think they were sitting in their portable hole, and they're just like, oh yeah. So the discussion was, if you get bit, do you get to choose your form?
Right. Well, there's 37 doors.
Right then. So they were sort of, even Chetney was like, I don't know, I'm not sure. I got bit by a wolf, so I became a wolf, and they were like, oh, okay, if we get to choose. I thought some of their choices were pretty funny, interesting. Ashton's
made perfect sense.
Made perfect sense, although I never thought of that. I mean, he said he'd be a were lizard or alligator of some kind. Mm-hmm. I immediately thought that he would be a were tiger. That was sort of I don't know why, but it seems like to me he would be a really good were tiger. I don't know. I'm not sure why.
His hair that doesn't move?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean, reptile makes sense. However, these were animals, do they have to be mammals? Because we found out that there has to be a predator, right?
Yeah.
They can't be an herbivore. Horse. Just
totally
eats the fuck out of those apples.
Right. Totally homebrew. But my DM home game here, he ran in 2 campaigns ago. He ran us through. We pulled a message board thing off the local tavern. There's a message board on the local tavern. We pulled the thing, the message off of it, saying that a local farm had been infested with rats, and we had to go in there and exterminate them. Typical adventure hook, whatever, blah blah blah. We get there, and it turns out it's a lycanthrope infestation, and it was being run by a were pachyderm.
That's the elephant thing, right?
Elephant, yeah. Ooh. Lycanthropic elephant.
Which is an herbivore.
Right, exactly. So I kind of forgot about that until just now.
I mean, rhinoceros, that's an herbivore.
But again, it was, sure. But again, this was homebrew, right? So what makes sense doesn't really, it goes out the window. You're like, okay, whatever. This is, my DM here, he was totally making this stuff up. So
just like a were horse, for Imogen.
Well, that's just a centaur.
Yeah, or BoJack Horseman.
Sure.
What would you have to gain from this? What
100%.
extra powers would you get?
It doesn't. the
You could run
where
fast, I guess.
the where ungulates doesn't really make a lot of sense.
No, it
Like
doesn't.
you're just it's like why?
A were sloth. I mean,
Right.
I guess you could
Yep.
be like you have the claws of a sloth, but maybe you're just not as slow.
Maybe
You
you're
know,
you're
like just try
you're
to
your normal
cherry
speed.
pick the good parts, and put those into your were beast.
A were sloth sounds awful because then you're just okay. So you're sped up, which means you're normal.
Yeah, so you're just a normal speed furry thing now with
Yep.
claws.
Yep.
The 3 claws on this tip.
Mm-hmm.
What about the fish? The were bass,
Oh,
that
that was weird.
FCG.
I did not understand that at all. I don't know where they came from. I don't really understand it. It was a little bit of a
It
maybe
must
a
have been
little
an
too highbrow
inside
for
or
me,
something. I don't know.
something like that.
A little too
I
highbrow
thought
for you.
I I honestly thought that when I first was thinking about FCG, I'm like he's going to be a were bot. That's just a were bot.
Just
That's
a
it.
fuzzy. I mean, I'm just assuming there's got to be hair involved when you turn into a were beast, right? I don't know
Why?
the rules. I don't know.
Well,
Maybe it could be
would a
a
were
bird of some
alligator
sort.
would a were alligator be fuzzy?
I don't know. I mean, there was fur on the were bass,
Yeah, sure.
and that's clearly canon because it's on the
I
drink tank.
did. I pegged Laudna as a were rat.
The
That was
rat,
what
yeah, you called that one.
right. Which and then with their Princess Bride reference, the where are you S's.
Yeah,
Great
the
call
where
there.
are you S's.
Yeah.
That's a mouthful.
The the Orem I had as a were serval. He said he'd be a were rabbit, which
Again, herbivore.
really an herbivore. But then remember that
right.
the kids book Bunnicula. There was like it instantly triggered that. I'm like, holy shit! I remember this book that I read when I was a kid about this cat and dog detective team that went out and they were like all these vegetables were showing up completely drained of color, and it was a were rabbit called Bunnicula that was going around at night draining the carrots of all their color. So they were parsnips. It didn't make any sense, but yeah.
But there's that option. Also,
Yep.
Holy Grail,
Sure.
There's that
Oh, right. Yeah.
vicious rabbit in that one. That was, I think, the hardest I've laughed as a child was that scene right there. That was, it's like there's those times where you lose your shit laughing, where you can't
Yes.
breathe and it hurts and all that
Yes.
stuff. That's
Yep.
my
Monty Python
my
is always
memory.
good for
That's
that
the
for
first
me.
time that I ever was in pain, like felt like I was in trouble. I couldn't breathe laughing. It was that fucking rabbit, man. Second time I watched it years later, same thing happened.
Oh yeah, it's amazing, priceless. Yeah.
That's
So-
real laughter, like when it catches you as a kid.
Oh, you can't stop, and you really literally cannot stop. You just keep laughing and laughing and laughing. You can't breathe. I know it. I
The
love it.
silent laughter because there's nothing coming out.
Fern is a were quokka or a were capybara,
Yeah.
a were beara, whatever they want to call them.
Why not be a were ape? She's got Mister. Some kind of were monkey. Maybe a were ape is too much. Maybe that's double.
Maybe.
I mean, a wolf is a very good predator. So are apes.
Yeah, I like the were bears. I like the were tiger, the were panther, the were. There's so many cats to choose from.
Yeah.
Like you got all the
predators.
different cats. They're were lynx, were bobcat, were. There's those crazy African cat with the high jumping ones that have those big pointed ears. I
Yeah.
can't remember the name of them.
What are the ones that are in the trees? Are those jaguars?
Yeah, jaguars they're South American. There's the ones that murk caimans.
Or was that a fake story from Winnie the Pooh where like this?
Oh, so the jaguars.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, the jaguar. I think that's what they're called from Winnie the Pooh. Tigger gets scared of them and he thinks that there's
Right.
the jaguars, which is
The jaguars.
yeah.
Yeah, I forgot how that story came around anyway, or how it ended up. I do have some four-sided dive stuff, but it kind of
Okay.
goes in with campaign 3. So
Yeah.
I say we
Should we just get into it?
Yeah, let's get on.
I like rolling dice.
Let's
I'll
get into
go.
it.
I'll
My
go
new
first.
one. This is not
Yeah.
actually the first time rolling this because we already did one of these episodes.
You want to tell them what your first roll on that dice was?
Yeah, I'll let them guess. It was wonderful. This time I got 6 higher.
Ooh. Oh, I got a 9.
I got a nice little 7.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go first then. I'm going to start with, as they're walking from Baranak, whatever the village is called, on their way to the temple. Um, I'm gonna say this is a master class on how to be a druid that is not a stereotypical druid, where Fern, wandering around, sees something, immediately grabs it and eats it, without making a nature check, without making like any kind of a check at all, just eats it. It's like, yep, here we go, I'm in. And sure enough, it is a psychedelic mushroom, and begins to have this incredible trip. And again, like we talked about this before, the whole way that she portrayed being high, and everybody else at the table was laughing and also understood what it was. It's like, we know they've all done these things before. Yeah. You can tell it's like this experience thing. Like, oh, you all know. You can
easily see that in campaign 2 too.
Sure, they talk about it many times.
Amazing. He's like, no, stop. Let me enjoy this. Mm-hmm. You know.
Absolutely.
I think I've said that verbatim before.
Mm-hmm. The best part about this for me is that this was a druid who has no clue about nature. Yeah. And it was so well played because she's not from Exandria, she's from the Feywild, and 2, she's a circle of the wildfire circle. So it's incredible. I loved it. I'm like, you have no clue what's going on about nature. You're just living your best life and having a great time. And it sort of is a reminder to all of us who play D&D that don't buy into the stereotypes. Be whatever, choose the class, choose the race, choose the class, choose whatever you like, and then be whatever you want to be in that. Don't be beholden to the stereotypes of that particular subset or whatever you want to call it.
When did that come about anyway? Because, druids are typically good with nature. I mean, we saw that a lot with, it seemed like Caduceus should have been really good with nature, but no, his nature checks were shit, right?
Oh, they were terrible because he had really low intelligence. Nature is, oh no, hang on. Is nature wisdom? I forget.
Because he had killer wisdom.
Yeah, I think nature is an intelligence. I think it's intelligence based. Yeah, which is why he had a low intelligence,
doesn't it?
No, because you would know. But druids are proficient in it,
right?
Which is different.
So
clerics are not
proficient. She's just got shitty intelligence or something.
That's a good question. Maybe you don't have to choose proficiency in those skills. You have a choice of a bunch, and maybe she didn't choose proficiency in nature. Which again would make sense. Which would make sense because why would a druid or why would a fawn from the Feywild care about nature in Exandria? Like, it's going to be, it's just it's a choice, and I'm all for it. I'm all over it. I love it.
Yeah, no need to stick to the lines, stick to the railroads. Get out of that box.
Get out of the box. Think outside the box. Do some interesting things. Get into be the class, be the character, be the race, and you're not allowed to say race anymore.
Oh right, what did they change that to now?
Species. Yep.
Are they different species? Like, are we an Asian people? Are they different species?
Mm-hmm.
I guess. Yep. I guess that would be within humans, right?
Yes, it's weird. It's a thing that they're doing now. Again, it's D&D, so you can do whatever you like to do. You can choose whatever you want to do. You don't have to. You can still call it race if you want to. You can call it species if you can call it snurgleflops if you want. It really legitimately doesn't matter.
Stealing that word.
Cool. All right. What do you got?
I don't remember what I ended with that one last time. Reading through my squiggles here, everything's crossed out because I had to cross them out last time. I guess I'll just go with this one. During there was that statue, right? And pretty early on when they got there, Matthew explained it. He described it, and it was very reminiscent of the one shot as well, the Mighty Mighty Reunion. I was kind of getting it mixed up in my head when I was listening to it. It had the scabbard right there, and then Travis asked is there like a cross hilt or is there anything in it? And he's like, no,
Right.
just a scabbard.
Right.
And I went back to see if Matthew was going to peek over it at Liam, right? And I went back and he did not peek over at Liam. And then I went back again to see if Liam would have any piqued interest because he's the only one that has a sword, right? At the moment? Yeah.
More or less. I mean, unless a chisel isn't really a sword, so yeah. FCG has a buzzsaw. Laudna has nothing.
Yeah, she's got her wits.
Imogen doesn't use a weapon.
Right.
Ashton has a hammer. Yeah.
Nope. Yeah, that's it, huh?
Fern has something. No, Fern has a. What does Fern use? Who knows?
I don't know. Jeez, not a lot of weapons going on here.
She's got a fire. She's got that spell, the Fireblade spell, whatever that.
Right?
Yeah.
But
there's a but yeah.
I'm gonna cast fire.
Every character. D&D pro tip: every character should have one of each weapon in their toolkit. You should have a club. You should have a dagger. For dagger really covers two because it's piercing and slashing, and then you need a bludgeoning thing of some kind.
You mean like in the party?
Every character should have one. You never know when you're going to get swallowed, so you should have a thing that can slice your way out of it. You never know when you're going to come against a skeleton, which are they're resistant to piercing and slashing weapons. You need a bludgeoning thing. Yeah. Every character should have a complement of the three major weapons.
Typically weak to or vulnerable to bashing or force damage.
Bludgeoning.
Right? Yep. Bludgeoning. Yep. That's the one.
So you need a bludgeoning weapon, you need a piercing weapon, you need a slashing weapon.
So what I was thinking is, so I'm going back and I'm watching this as a spectator and I'm looking at these people face on because that's what the camera shows. And I went back to see if Matthew was going to take a peek over at Liam, like either on purpose or just accidentally glance over because he's got him in his mind that later in the episode.
Right.
It was in his brain at that point that he's like, this is going to be for Orem. And he kind of just plopped it on Orem's lap later. But he didn't do it. And nor did Liam have a reaction. Like he was just sitting there or he just hit it really well.
Okay.
Because he just sat there and he was doing this, I think. And he didn't blink.
No, nothing. Then, nothing.
So that brought up the question for you, because I haven't been at many tables, but the few that I have, when the GM or DM takes a peek at you, you really notice it. Even if it's a passing glance and it means nothing, you see that head turn. And
well,
what does that mean? Or does it mean nothing?
And this is where the metagaming aspect of things come in, because when the DM gives you the nod, gives you the look, gives you that little, hey man, well, you see this thing. You as a player have a decision to make right then and there.
Right.
You've got this decision to roll with it and be like, oh, you mean that's for me? Okay, now I'm interested. Now I'm gonna go investigate and see what this thing is all about. And that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is, which is the way I prefer, is to be like, oh, thank you for that tip. Now, does my character in front of me, would they recognize it? Yeah. And the way that I always approach this, or the way that I've learned to approach this, is to roll a d20 and be like, okay, let the d20, let the dice decide, let them tell the story. And I sort of have a mental DC based on my character's intelligence. And I'm trying to roll under their intelligence score. Maybe with some modifiers associated with it, if it's particular obvious or not. But I'll usually make up a DC on the spot thinking, okay, would my character notice that? Roll the dice. If I roll particularly low, then I'm like, yeah, my character actually does really notice that. It's a thing that they would notice. If I roll over my character's intelligence modifier, they're oblivious to it. And they're like, okay, they don't notice it. Now, that being said, that's easy to say when not faced with the situation, because I know I'm guilty of going like, oh, that's for me. Oh shit, I need to do a thing here. And usually the DM will throw you that bone because they want the plot to advance in a certain way, or they would like the plot to advance in a way. Right. So that you catch that little look, you catch that little nod, and then you sort of are you have to make a decision there. I think personally, it's as a semi-experienced player, I think it's a bit cheap to just sort of take it at face value and go, oh, DM, you're telling Ben that thing. Okay, I'm going to go with it then. I think the better way to do it is to try and RP it a little bit, whether your character would actually notice or not.
Yeah, I think Liam does that very reliably.
Very well. The idea of having the dice determine what your character would or wouldn't notice shouldn't always be a hard and fast rule, but I like it because it puts a little bit more chance involved in things if your character is actually paying attention or not.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I played in a game, the Heroes, where they use percentile dice all the time. Like
All
for
the
their
time.
skills, they'll be like, I'll say there's a 20% chance that you notice, so roll your dice, and if you roll under 20, then you notice,
Sure.
But you have your bonuses, like...
Yep. Well, I mean, in many ways, D20 is the same thing. It's still a percentage dice as well, because it's just
denominations of 5, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Back to the rollies then, eh?
Back to the rollies. Let's do another one.
Let's get this done. Just going south from here. 4.
Jesus, 8. Wow. Okay. Cool.
It's great early Christmas for you. This green side really seems to help your complexion quite a bit.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, you look normal instead of
Yeah,
bright blue.
I've had a couple of people tell me I look very blue.
Yeah.
So the green I think is a nice touch. I think
Even with just a white light, there's that blue that's pretty, prominent on screens.
I'm going to nope, not that one. Right. I'm going to jump into the right off the hop with the combat. Which my favorite part of Critical Role and D&D in general. I love combat. I'm a junkie for it. Mm-hmm. So when this combat began, with Matt picking up that sheet of paper and going, and Travis, here you go. There's the sheet of paper. You get this.
Such a cool moment for
and
Travis.
And his like deer in the headlights, right? He's just like, oh my god, and you could see it getting like, oh my god, and the excitement, the apprehension, the nerves, everything just ramped up.
Yep.
Like he was already very nervous about the whole trial to begin with, but when Matt gave him that character sheet or the action sheet, the character sheet, basically.
It's a character sheet, right?
100%. Gives him the sheet, and you could see it's just like, he started almost vibrating. He was so excited, everything. I'm just going to say, at the very, very beginning of it all, Travis he's terrible at fighting his friends. When Grog was charmed, he was really bad at it. When Ford was charmed, really bad at it. It's sort of a tendency that we have when we have to fight our party, that we don't want to do it. And I think you should really lean into that thing where, like, again, going back to Liam being really able to do this. Remember when Caleb gets charmed by those succubus they're in the City of Beasts, Asarius, I believe it's called, and they're down the well, and they're in that thing, and he gets charmed, and then he fireballs them. Mm-hmm. Does fireball, then wall of fire. Then he's like, and that was leaning into it and going big. Like, oh yeah, no, I got to fuck these people up. I'm going to go to the top, to the max.
Yeah.
And Travis wasn't very good at it in this one. It took him a couple of rounds to get into it, but the first couple of things he was doing was like it was not good. Whether it was nerves, whether it was just like, I don't want to kill you, I think he got scared. I think he looked at the sheet and was like, oh my god, I'm going to kill them all.
Yeah.
And so he sort of kid gloved it. He pulled back a little bit, pulled the punches, but he eventually turned it around and it became really, really good. So well done. That's the right way to do it.
There could have been an argument made perhaps because he was not quite himself. He was much more feral. And so like if somebody attacks him, just like it's a pretty common thing to see in video games actually, is that like when you attack it, it turns around and it goes right for you. And even no matter what it was doing, it could be eating something, it could be eating ice cream, and you attack it, it drops this and goes straight for you. And that's a tactic we use in games a lot. If that's a feature, before it gets to that person, somebody hits it from over here, and this thing's just going back and forth, and that's how you kill it, Right. So you could make that argument that like maybe he got hit instead of taking this person down. He's just like, and then goes for that one,
Right. I think, but again, like if you're when they're fighting bad guys, they don't do that. when when the party is fighting, the standard way to get through, especially when there's a bunch of them, you focus on one and you go. And Travis was, even when he was getting into the hang of things, and he was like, "Oh, okay, I'm starting to figure out how to use this character, this massive dire werewolf, whatever it was."
Yeah.
when he was getting into figuring out how to use the legendary actions and how to use the legendary resistances, figuring out what all the actions were and all of that stuff, how to do it, he was still jumping around from character to character to character to character, whereas he should have been focusing on Ashton. He should have been focusing on Orem. He should have just gone to town on one of them and taken them out, like dropped them to 0 hit points, then moved on. Like maybe not nuke them, maybe not kill, but
bring them down, move on.
He started off, his first attack was against FCG.
Yep.
Baller move to just drop FCG to 0. The cleric in the party, just take them out right at the hop. Then that as soon as he started doing that, I was like, oh god, he's gonna take out the healer, and that's gonna scare the shit out of everyone. And but then he didn't. He attacked a couple of times, and then jumped over to Laudna, then jumped over to somebody else, and then jumped over. And then at the end of it, he realized that he should have been going after Laudna and started to, but by that point it was too late, and they took him out. And then it became a.
How do you want to subdue this?
Yeah. Right. Right.
Sam.
So I think for me, I loved all of it. I thought it was amazing. It was so much fun. It was great entertainment. But it's one of those things where it felt wrong to sort of say, oh, just go after them all and just do this thing. And it's like, you should have just gone after one of them and taken them out, and really scared the party. There's no doubt in my mind, even if he had done that, they still would have won the day. But I think it would have been much scarier if he had really taken one or two of them out. I mean, in my opinion.
Maybe next time they do it, then Matthew, we know you're watching. Send us an email, and then we can send an email to Travis or whoever is going to do it. And then
whoever the next one is.
We have
FCG. It'll be FCG next, because he'll go into the killbot mode and try to take them out. Because again, it's you can make an argument for saying that he was an assassin bot. He is terrible at assassinating.
Assing. He's terrible at assing. Yeah.
Assassinations.
Yes,
anyway,
and
yeah, go.
This has got to be a net 20 record.
It is. I looked it up.
You did?
I did.
So it was 9? Is that what it was? That's what you said last time?
9 natural 20s is the record. The record before that was 7.
Damn.
And that was Percy and
it's got to be Vax.
I think so. Percy and Vax both. Percy apparently had more natural 20s than one, but some of them were at disadvantage, so they don't count. And again, Travis.
Those should not even be on.
They did not. You're right. So because Travis rolled a couple of natural 20s that didn't count as well because he had disadvantage, or one maybe or two. I'm not sure. But yeah, Crit Roll Stats has it as the record. As at 9
campaign wide, like all 3, right?
Looks like it. It
was just constant, man. Just like,
yep.
I mean, it seemed like Matthew was getting a little bit like, God, we're supposed to end this right now. Stop rolling 19s and 20s.
Yeah, it was crazy. Crazy amount of 20s.
Like, oh, natural 20 on that one. Like, it's crazy, man. Like
there were others. There were, like I said, there was 4 more. There were 13 total, I think. FCG had 1 and a couple of others. But it was pretty funny, right? Because FCG has that ability where if an ally rolls a natural 20, he gets a bonus for it. But Matt was like, at this point, he's not an ally anymore, so you can't use that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he gets advantage if one of them.
He gets advantage if one of them rolls a natural 20.
Strange rule. It's just a very magical fourth wall kind of, like
in line with the Grave Cleric's ability to cancel natural 20s by enemies. It's sort of the same kind of thing.
It's like bad. I'm going to cancel that.
Yep. And then if they roll a natural 20, you get a little bonus, a little bump on that as well. So
I like how FCG gets so excited when somebody like does really good damage. He's like, "Oh, nice!" And then he gets advantage.
As we're learning, it's really an underpowered cleric archetype. So it's very much buff debuff. It's really about providing allies and enemies with advantage and disadvantages. So that's what this class is good at, or the archetype, whatever it is. We still don't know what it is called, but
no, it'll come out at some point. I'm sure they'll release it on D&D Beyond or something at least.
I mean, as far as that goes, we don't really know what Ashton his archetype of barbarian is. It's a dunamantic archetype of some. I'm sure he's got a name for it, but that'll be a maybe hopefully a campaign wrap up thing. We'll find out,
or maybe even a 4-sided dive. Sometimes that information comes out. You know, like I do have something about that a little bit soon, but I'm going to win this rolly, and I'm going to do this one because that was the one I meant to do last time. So.
Okay, are you? Well, here we go.
I'm definitely going to ruin this one with a 15. You get a 1, bud?
Natural 1.
Hey, the tables have timmed. This is the one I meant to yes and with last time was at 1 hour 9 minutes and 49 seconds of the Twitch stream. Talis and I had the same reaction as what I have written down here.
Right.
Remember this?
Right. Yes.
And this was I felt like you were talking earlier about Ashley, like clearly showing us that she had clearly done mushrooms before because she knows exactly how to act it out, and everybody recognizing it is like, hey, you all have done this before, and so have we as viewers, so we can easily see. Takes one to know one. All right, so she did that extremely well. However, I feel like she yes-anded poorly.
Right.
Because she was sitting there and she was like, she kept on trying to be like, to role play more highness, like I'm going to be high. And then I don't remember the exact example, but it's right here at 109.49, whatever that is.
It was the beetle changebringer.
Was that what it was?
Yeah. She sees the little beetle
changebringer. Yeah.
Right. The beetle comes up out of the ground or whatever, and she's like, "Are you the changebringer?"
Yeah. That sounds like mushrooms for sure. Like we've all been there before.
100%.
And but I felt like she was putting the the improv classes and the American Office. Where he just constantly has a gun, and it just ruins the whole thing. It just kills it all.
Yep.
So it's just bad improv. And I felt like she was doing bad improv by saying like, I am very high. I'm going to reach for this thing. Matthew, what do you have for us?
Yeah.
Just making him make shit up on the spot.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. What do I see? What do I see? What do I got? Yeah. What do I notice?
And he's just making stuff up. And at that point, Taliesin is like, don't do this to Matthew. Like, he has enough on his plate. You don't need to make him. Like in campaign 2, he had to come up with smut names for these fucking books and shit. It's like, you want me to come up with a library full of smut?
Yeah.
In the first
I'll come up with a library full of smut.
Yeah. Yep. Was it the first campaign where it was like a Guthok or whatever, and just like Ermagerd, and there's like, yeah, you know what, Ermagerd, that's what no means. Yes. And they're like, no, and he's like, no, it's canon.
It's canon.
This is what
that's
you get
what
when
it
you
is.
try to make me make up words in some language.
I remember that. That's right.
Kind of snapping a little bit and be like, you want me to just make this stuff up? You have no idea. Do you
eventually,
know who I am?
Eventually, that whole, what do you mean you don't have a giant turtle mini for us? What do you mean you don't have a cow mini for us? Like, eventually, that's got to get to him. He's just like, oh, yep. It's like, oh, I'm warming up the backhand here. I will yes end that with Liam putting Matt a bit on the spot by in combat when he does his I do this and I do that and then I action surge and I do 2 more attacks, and then if you'll allow me, I jump on the werewolf form and I hang on. And as soon as he said that, I was like, nope, because you've used your actions. I'm a stickler for mechanics in certain situations, this being one of them. And it's like, okay, if you'll allow me for flavor, you can jump on, and absolutely, you're not grappled because you've already used your action, and Matt was very clear about it. And then when Chetney decided,
he did say that, Matthew
he
said that.
He did. He was like, for flavor, yeah, you didn't grapple him, but for flavor, you're holding on. And he's like, okay, I'm grabbing onto his nips. Then I'm holding on, and I'm there. And then a turn later, Travis says, okay, I'm going to use a legendary action here, and I'm going to dash over to there. Right. And he does it, and he does the thing. And then Liam is like, okay, I was holding on. Do I go along? And as soon as he said it, I was like, no.
No, it was for
Absolutely
flavor.
not. You said for flavor, you're holding on.
And
so
he's not grappled. You said that yourself.
You're not grappled. And I mean, Matt even went back and forth on it. He's like, well, I said you're not grappled, so I think this, but then he allowed it. And I was like, that is a mistake, because that is a slippery slope for allowing players to get extra actions at the end of their turn.
Yeah.
And it's not good, because it's kind of meaningless in this situation. But again, like I said, it opens up a box that should not be opened with allowing things to happen that shouldn't happen. I get it is meaningless and it doesn't really mean anything, and it's a little tiny stickler point, but you said specifically he wasn't grappled, which was the right call, absolutely. So he should have just said, oh yeah, okay, well, because we said it was flavor, Chetney, how do you brush Orem off of you as you make this dash? And Travis would have said, well, Chetney just sort of goes shh, and you let go, or he dashes so suddenly that Orem loses his grip and falls down and oh shit, that fur was really oily and matted and I couldn't get a good enough hold onto it, so it's done.
Yeah.
That's the way it should have been. Like I said, I'm a stickler for those little minutia, those game mechanic things, and they're important for a reason. They play test a lot of these things, and 5th edition. Yeah, I've said this before. In my opinion, is the best edition of D&D. They've done the best job with it. Extensively play tested these things. They're there for a reason. And homebrew all you want. And yes, I love the good homebrew and I love it. But in these little mechanic situations, it should be verbatim.
Yeah. And that kind of thing, I mean, it goes over my radar because I don't know a lot of the rules, but that one is kind of in my wheelhouse, Yeah, I know
it's
about
important.
This action economy,
Yeah.
But that one slipped by me.
Yeah, it's an important one because Liam is I love it. It's wonderful where he says, "Oh, and if you'll allow me for flavor, I would like to do this, blah blah blah." And it's 99 times out of 100, it works really really well. This one was a mistake. Okay, excusable. That's fine. You put things on Matt, and he's not always going to get them right, but I'm worried that somewhere down the road he's going to try it again, and it will have important consequences.
Right.
And it gives a little bit of an unfair advantage. So
I can go either way with Liam. Like he might.
Yeah.
He's so good at sticking to the rules and making sure that he doesn't get unfair advantages. However, he's also clever.
Yeah.
So he might be like, well, last time you allowed this to happen, so and like this time trying to do this, and he's like, okay, and now I'm going to action surge now that I've gone over that, and be like, all right, he's clever, and he's gonna get Matthew to say something and be like, you said this, so I'm gonna do this. He's done that before.
Yeah, he has. Absolutely he has. Well, if I remember, you said that Laudna was a object when she was, and it's like that rule lawyering thing. It's like,
buddy.
You're out. Context, man. Context, nuance, all of these things matter. Like you've got to, yes, in that situation, yes, but in this situation, no, because otherwise would just, as my old Pathfinder DM used to say, if you're gonna cheese, I'm gonna cheese.
Right.
And I'm that honest look, like I will cheese better than you will. It's like, okay, all right.
I know a lot more than you do.
Yep.
Especially about what's going to happen in about 15 minutes.
That's right. So it's like, oh shit, yeah, okay, you're right.
I don't know what's behind this board, biatch.
Totally.
That
was my SN. So let's. I rolled a natural 1. So let's do some rollies
then, eh? I've got 2 more things, and I do have a lot of work I got to get done. So
I got 1 more, so I could go either way.
Okay, let's roll.
Oh,
Ben goes both ways. You heard it here first. Oh, I got a
19.
4? Fucking hell.
19. I'm gonna go with the very end of the episode when they complete the trial, they wrap it all up, and they're like, we're going streaking. We're gonna do this, and we're all gonna right, exactly. But I know you have a different opinion on this, so I'm sort of I'm lobbing one up here for you to knock out. My take on it is that episode 41, we're starting to get into the party bonding phase of things. 40 episodes, late 30s, early 40s. This seemed to me like another bonding moment where they were really starting to pick things up, starting to be like, okay, we did this thing. We helped Chetney discover his past, and and learn some things about himself. We got some new things. Let's bond over this. Let's right. really have a bonding moment where we actually are going to start because we've talked about this before. They're not very good as a party. They're sort of out of sync with each other.
Fight really showed it.
Well, combat wise, yeah, they're not very good together. So maybe this is a way for them to really start getting into sync with each other, and it's like this is one more step in that right direction. That's my hot take off of what they did at the end. That's all.
Yeah, and how I feel about it, it was just Laura being Laura. She's done this in every campaign now. It's like, Ford would have gotten naked in there. I'm Jester maybe, but I think that she would be a little bit more reserved instead of just naked,
Yeah, Jester was super shy about that kind of, very brazen about stuff, but personal things a little bit shy about stuff.
Yeah, so she wouldn't just get naked in there, especially with Ford right there. I mean, that crush started early,
Yes.
And
when they got episode 1, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, probably,
Yep.
And Caleb, I also think not really, but he was entranced by the beach, so that's when he's just like, I need to cleanse, like not his body, but just he needs to wipe clean, his slate, whatever that means. So like, in campaign 2, I'm like, why they're not naked in there. Yash, I understand. Bo, I understand, but the rest doesn't really make much sense to me. Good for Sam for staying out of the water,
Yes.
For the most part.
Yep. For the most part. Yep.
But then they dragged her in and like did it
in the hot tub, the Shore House hot tub. She got in there and it wasn't
scarred her. Like mental post traumatic.
Not good. Not good.
Made her get in the water and try to put her face on the. Oh my God! Imagine that panic. Yeah. So the end of the episode when she's like, "No, let's just take off our clothes and go," and it's like, Laura, it's not you, it's Imogen.
That's right.
Imogen would never do this. And then Laudna's going to do whatever Imogen kind of wants to do. So she's like, "Oh, okay, I guess we're gonna get naked."
I think my take on it is it's a bonding moment. They're not actually getting naked at the table. So there's a disassociation with this thing. They're like, right, my character doesn't matter. I wouldn't do it. So, but maybe they would. So we're just going to go with it and whatever.
Yeah. And it's just kind of as flippant as that. Like even Matthew, he's like, so you get naked and run in the woods? Okay.
Yep. All right.
But before you do, Orem, did he have Orem and Firm roll a perception check?
Yes.
Or did he just say, Orem, with your passive, you notice this? Which one was it?
No, I think he said roll. I think he did say roll make a perception check.
At some point they did. Yeah, I just don't remember if it was that point or not.
I'm not sure. May have been 2 of them, and Fern botched it and he didn't. Right. So that's when they noticed that
one time she rolled a 19 and he rolled a 13 or 15 or something like that. I don't remember what that was.
I don't. Yeah, you're right. I don't remember either. No, we talked about this the earlier as well. The whole they felt like it was being shoehorned into the end of the episode. It was an odd
present
one
for you. Don't go.
Yeah. Don't go run. Don't go chasing your friends off into the woods just yet. I got a thing I got to tell you, which was odd. Matthew doesn't usually do stuff like that. He doesn't really shoehorn things in, and it felt a little forced, which again was odd. But hey,
yeah, and like why couldn't it wait until the next episode? But I guess it's right there.
Yep.
And maybe he didn't expect Laura to be Laura and say we're gonna run off naked.
Yeah.
Like, really? Come on, I need Orem though. You know.
There's an interesting there might be a multi-classing opportunity here too. I'm kind of hoping I wake up tomorrow and there's a level up video because it hasn't come out yet. So I'm sort of because they didn't roll hit points, right? They said level up,
think about it,
but we're gonna wait because of multi-classing stuff. And I was like, oh, that's interesting because most of them have probably already chosen what they're going to do, but that it also means that some of them might be moving into multi-class, and I wonder if Orem is one of them.
And Taliesin was the one that said, I don't know if he was speaking for himself or for the party, but he was like, can we have some time to think about it?
Yeah.
And then that's when I was reminded. I was like, oh yeah, they might multi-class. They don't know which die to roll,
Right.
Yet, depending on what
Fighters are D10. Most of the barbarians D12. Fighters are D10. And most of the rest of them are D8s. The wizard being the D6.
Yeah, and if Taliesin, if Ashton's going to multi-class, what do you think that would be? Fighter?
Could be.
Get the. I don't know how many levels you need to get the action surge.
Might happen at 2.
It's got to be 2, right? It can't be 1.
No, might be 2 or I don't remember. I've never actually played a fighter, like a straight sword and board fighter.
Boring.
No, not the reason why. I've always just gone with other things. I played fighter classes, like the what other one is a fighter maybe I've never played a fighter. Yeah, no, I haven't. I've done cleric, and in 5th edition I've done cleric, I've done rogue, I've never done barbarian either. Did warlock. Never done wizard. Done a couple of clerics now. Anyway, yeah. Hey man, I got nothing.
I think you won that one, right?
Yes, with a 19.
Fuck, I don't remember. There's this thing here too that I'm all. I feel like there's an order to this that there should have been because of the one that we had to scrap. And there's this one here feels out of place, but at 1 hour 40 minutes and 10 seconds. Again, the farther away it gets, the harder it is to remember. At one point, it was before the trial, of course, and then Chetney was walking off somewhere, and then Sam, as FCG, was like, oh, hold on a second. I lay a hand on him, and then I cast Death Ward.
Death Ward.
Right?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, thanks. And then Matthew's reaction to it was like, and this is, of course, the second time through that you see, that you know what's coming, and then you notice these things. Matthew's reaction, he was like, Death Ward? Oh.
Okay.
And just kept it at that, and then nobody knew anything, and he's just sitting there like, oh, okay, you may have just killed somebody.
Yep.
But not him.
Made things much more interesting for everybody now that he's got Death Ward, which presumably carries over into after the transformation.
I would assume so. I mean,
no reason to think otherwise.
Yeah, with Matthew's response there, I'm pretty sure that he would have been like, and by the way, you cast Death Ward, so you're back to 1 hit point. Yep. That would have been sick if it happened.
It would have been a real fun little thing to happen because he would regen. Yep.
That would have been so cool, but it didn't happen. So no, but no. Man, I wish it did.
One
more quick thing, or do you have?
Yeah, sure. I got an interesting one. I thought it was very appropriate that that Ashton's 24 on an intimidation check, and then Travis makes the 4 with the wisdom save, and that was the end. That was the subduing moment. The transforming.
That's how they subdid it.
That's how they subdid it. I thought it was really cool. Again, it sort of flowed into that bonding thing. Immediately, Ashton punches Chetney right in the face. I'm like, this is more bonding stuff going on. Like it's just kind of the way that they're rolling now.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And also, as we said before, it's like I was getting a little tired of Taliesin swearing all the time, I'm like, why is he always just like, oh, fuck all the time, overdoing it? I'm like, take it easy, Taliesin, take it easy. I thought he was overacting. I thought he was uncomfortable in those shoes. Right. But then it turns out every movement hurts, every touch hurts, and it's like, now it makes sense, right? And then, like, he went up to the bow of the skyship, just to talk to Orem at the one point, right? And and nothing came of the conversation really, right? And I was like, what the fuck was that for? Like, are you just trying to get some spotlight? That doesn't seem like you, Taliesin. And I'm like, boo! Quit wasting my time with worthless play.
And then you realize
Four-Sided Dive comes out and he says, I'll tell you what, the only reason is Orem. He's the only reason I'm in this party right now. They're like, oh, really? And he's like, well, yeah, that's why I'm talked to him, and I'm, and like, okay. And I got to put more faith in Taliesin, like that's 2 times now that I was like, "What the fuck are you doing, man? Calm down, now, Taliesin. You're overdoing it."
And
he wasn't. I was wrong.
He's right on point with who his character. He's very aware of who his character is and what they would feel. And it's sort of that whole thing about you can criticize Taliesin all you want, but don't criticize his character choices, because he is very, very aware of what that character will be doing and how they will act. And you can like or dislike that character, but this is acting. He's acting the role, and if you like it, that's his acting choice, and if you dislike it, that's also his acting choice.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that he's doing a bad job. It's exactly the same as if you liked it. Liking and disliking a character, it's like, you dislike villains for a reason. That's supposed to. When an actor portrays a villain in a role, the best compliment you can give them is, "I fucking hated you as Voldemort. Yeah. It was awful. You were terrible."
Like,
it's like I was
thank you so much.
Yeah, that's amazing. You're right. I should have got an Oscar for that role. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if you know about the fucking idiotic, absolutely absurd death threats and shit that Laura got for playing Abby in The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah.
They were sending her tweets and sending her emails, personal emails through her business account and personal account, being like, "Fuck you, I hate you." And she was like, "I didn't do anything."
Yeah. I was literally in a sound booth, guys. Like, I was in Hollywood in a sound booth, just talking.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's nonsense.
Like, it's insane. So it's like
incredible compliment, but insanity at the same time.
Clearly did an amazing enough job for people to hate Laura instead of the character in the game that she played so well.
A fucking video game.
Yeah.
Not only is it not real, it's literally not real.
Like, "I'm going to kill you, Laura." It's like, why? You fucking idiots. That's what the world's come to, man. That's privilege at its finest, isn't it?
Hey, let's wrap this up. Yeah. I gotta walk the pup and do some other things, and you got some stuff to do. So
yeah, I got we should papers to mark.
We should wrap this up then.
Okay. One more thing that Ashton went over and talked to the Bears, and I thought that was extraneous as well.
Right.
It's like, why are you going over there just because it's Trinket and you know that it's fan service? So again, that's one of those three now that I'm like, what are you doing, Taliesin?
Why? What are you doing? What is the reason for this?
Maybe there's a reason for it. I'm 0 for 2 so far. So Taliesin, if you're watching,
we'll find out.
Make it make sense, buddy. Make it make sense.
We definitely will find out.
All right. And on that note, I dropped my pen. Fuck. On that note, I got to get back to marking all those damn books.
Word.
And I'm still testing positive on that COVID, man. I'm going to test in the morning and see if I can't go into school unless I'm negative.
My brother's girlfriend was tested positive for like a month afterwards.
Oh,
faint little lines on those rapid tests. So
yeah, mine's pretty faint as of yesterday. But like my friend Sharon, she tested positive for 11 days after she had no symptoms.
Yeah, crazy.
And like I'm only on day 7 or 8 at the moment.
This should be fine.
I might be home for a little while. Which is
Wild.
not a problem for me, but
sure.
I kind of like working from this office here, But I got to get a bunch of shit marked, and then I have to bring it to school tomorrow morning, regardless of whether or not I'm positive or negative. And then,
all right.
Yeah, so I'm going to be up a little bit late tonight. But yeah, if there's nothing else, let's wrap this up.
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Cool.
I've said what I need to say.
Well then, catch us next week. We've got one more before you are off for 3 weeks.
I'm off. I'm off for a couple of weeks. It'll be because there's the year-end break. There'll be one off for that end of month, and then I will be back in January.
Right. Jeez, yeah, I should probably check my calendar. I've got my work calendar at work, so I haven't seen it in a while. I got to do some scheduling. All right. Get in touch down here, and
the best way to do things. Get in touch with us underneath in the comments.
Yeah, comments are the best way. The email, we have it. We just don't really check it very much because it doesn't have a lot of traffic at the moment.
That's right.
And like it, subscribe, and all that. And of course, because you're already subscribed to all kinds of other stuff, what you have to do is unsubscribe to everything else, and then subscribe to us, so you know that when you get that notification, it's from yours truly and Ben.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Completely do that. Don't listen to Ben.
Don't.
Come on.
Just don't. Just don't.
Let them choose their destiny, Ben. I have nothing else. Get in touch. Unsubscribe from everything except for us. And then So don't forget to love each other. And is it finally Friday?
Hey.
Peace, everybody.
Hey.
Bye.